Hi, everyone. Welcome to All About the Joy. This is the private lounge. And in the house, we have Just Cynthia. Cynthia, you took off your Just Cynthia.
I did.
And our guest, we are so grateful to have Trish Ahjel Roberts in the house. You are the founder and CEO of Mind-Blowing Happiness. And we're going to get into why you called it that in a minute. But I also want to say you are also the author of 3 amazing books who are backed by, I can't believe how many, I read all the comments. 12 Steps to Mind-Blowing Happiness, which was endorsed by Jack Canfield and Iyanla Van Sant. And I know her from the Oprah show. That's where I remember her from. I'm like, go ahead, girl. Thinking Outside the Chrysalis. Thank you. And your most recent book is The Anger Myth, which is critically acclaimed and was just released internationally in 2024. So you spent 20 years in corporate America and then left. And I wanted to find out why and how you came, just get a little background on who you are before we pepper you with every other question. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So, I grew up, my parents are from the Caribbean, and I grew up in Brooklyn. And I really grew up with this idea that you could kind of be like a doctor, a lawyer, or a business person. So I didn't think that I had a whole lot of options when I went into corporate. And, I had some great experiences. I worked as an account executive, account manager for many years in telecom. I was a financial advisor for many years. But I always felt like I was only bringing a small portion of myself to the table, and I was only using a small portion of my talents and my capabilities. And, if you have spiritual beliefs at all, you know that sometimes spirit or God or whatever you call that will kind of guide you, sometimes in ways that you don't love.
Okay.
But I was kind of ushered along a path where I was able to step away from corporate and start my own business. And it's been almost 7 years now. So,
wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Can you, I read that it was transformational leadership. Can you explain a little bit of what that means for people like me who didn't really understand what that meant? I kind of couched it under life coach, and I think that's not doing it a good service. So could you explain what it is that you actually do to our audience?
Yeah, so I run a personal and professional development company, which is called Mind-Blowing Happiness. So I work with organizations and also corporations as a speaker, bringing programs for their leadership, so that you can learn to lead authentically, learn to lead with empathy, lead with joy. Most of our corporate models are based on a military model, which a lot of people don't realize. So, yeah. So you show up in uniform, right? Right. At least this is how it was.
Do we have our guns or something? I'm so confused.
You show up in a uniform, the dark suit or conservative or whatever. And there is a model where, the CEO tells everybody what to do through the ranks. And many times, you can't question authority. You're kind of a soldier. You're following directions, and it works until it doesn't work. What we found is that many people are quiet quitting. They're doing other things on the side. They're not really happy with the structure where, you might be sitting in a meeting, somebody asks your opinion, but you know that they really don't want your opinion. You can't really speak up and say. So, transforming leadership has to do with being able to have authenticity as leaders. It's not only for corporations or organizations. I think most of us are leaders, whether we're leading in our families or we're leading in communities or we're entrepreneurs like me. Maybe we are leading in corporations as executives. Anytime we have somebody looking up to us, we're leaders, whether we want to be or not. So there's a lot of really good, empowering work that's there for the individual to come more into themselves and more into their own authenticity and sovereignty. And then also to create space for the people who look up to us, whether they're at work or in our families, to come into themselves as well.
Cynthia, do you want to jump in or? Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, so I was reading, the website and everything, and it says that you also teach yoga.
I do.
Did you start with yoga? Like, how did that come about into all this?
Yeah, if you went on my website, you probably saw a lot of things because I actually do a lot of things. I like to feel like it all comes under this umbrella of people becoming better and growing, But yoga, the first time I took a yoga class, I was pregnant with my daughter in 2000. And I remember at the time thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, this is whatever. I just didn't think it was a big deal. And then years later, I got into running. And then I kind of circled back to my yoga because, running makes you tight. And they say, oh, yoga will stretch you out. So I was approaching it more from just the exercise standpoint. But what I realized when I started practicing yoga regularly is that when you change the position of your body, it changes your emotions. So if you've ever seen people prostrate, we see this often in in Islam, in Muslim faith.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh,
yeah. So that is also a yoga pose called child's pose. Mm-hmm. So it just gives you an idea that is a posture for surrender, for grounding, for prayer. And there are just so many poses where I would notice, when I change the position of my body, I change my emotions. So that was kind of my first aha with yoga. And then I just started practicing more. Many people don't understand that there are what they call 8 limbs to yoga. So it's the philosophy as well as the practice, and then meditation, and then breath work and concentration. So there's so many elements to it. It's not a religion, but it is a beautiful way of becoming more embodied, more understanding your own physical body as well as your spiritual self. So
it's kind of funny because like during COVID, I work at the hospital. So during COVID, they had little mini seminars like during lunchtime where you can do chair yoga for like 10 minutes. And a lot of it was breathing techniques. And it did help, calm me down or just kind of be aware of my space and things like that. And when I was telling Carmen about it, she's like, I don't like yoga. I said, no, yoga can only be like 10 minutes if you want. She's like, really? So I thought it was really cool that they actually incorporated that to kind of help the employees too.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too, because I've had so many people who are like, I don't like yoga, but you might have one experience with one type of yoga. So even the physical practice of yoga, there's all different types of physical practices. So there are things like chair yoga. There's, of course, power yoga. You could stand on your head. That's usually what scares people. but there's slower types of yoga, what they call yin, where you hold postures for like 3 to 5 minutes. There's restorative yoga, which is almost like lounging in your easy chair, but it really calms your nervous system. And then there's what they call yoga nidra, which is like yogic sleep. It's like a little bit of a meditation visualization type thing. So there's so many different kinds of ways to access that.
Yeah, I'm still not a fan. Yeah. I mean, I think there's more to it than that. Like, I mean, I grew up as a dancer and as a performer, and we did a lot of Pilates. And so I think there's also just kind of the contrast where it was just for exercise. I think my issue with yoga, when I think about it exercise-wise, it doesn't work for me, right? But I do get the meditative part of it. I just don't do it in yoga. I do it, I write in my journal every day, right? That becomes my meditative space. And so thank you for making me look bad to our guests, Cynthia. I really yeah, but I've tried every single kind of yoga because I really thought the hot yoga would be the thing that I would really get into. It just never worked for me. And I think that's okay too. I think everyone can have their own thing.
And maybe one day you'll take a class with me. And
maybe I will. Maybe I will. Cynthia gonna take it too now. Yes, she is.
I'm teaching in Costa Rica in January.
Are you really?
I think we have to make a trip, Carmen.
All of a sudden, I'm like, it's all about, I'm trying to be more like all into it. Let's talk about mind-blowing happiness. Where did that great name of your company come from?
So How did this start? Okay, so I guess maybe around 2018, 2019, I had been studying Buddhist philosophy for years, and I had been studying yoga for years, and I had learned so much, going through things I've been through in my life. And I remember one night I got up, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and these 10 ideas came to me, and I had to write them down. So I wrote them down, I went back to bed. The next day I looked at them, I added 2 more, and I said, oh, I've got to teach this. So I was writing what I thought was going to be like a little booklet for a retreat that I was putting together.
Okay.
And I was really obsessed at the time with the idea of the butterfly, because I was transitioning from like corporate life
Right.
into like really feeling like I could be myself. So I titled the book Thinking Outside the Chrysalis. And then I realized nobody knows what a chrysalis is.
I don't know what a chrysalis is. That's why I didn't know how to say it.
Yeah, nobody knows what it is. Nobody can pronounce it.
I feel better now. I feel better.
So, so the feedback that I got was really great. My readers were like, oh my gosh, these concepts are amazing. We'd like something like another book that's more like a journaling book that we can work with. And I thought, okay, great, but I got to do something about this chrysalis thing. I kept talking about self-actualization.
Okay.
And I realized nobody knew what I was talking about with that either, Carmen.
I do know that. That one I do know. Right. That one I do know. Right.
But the masses don't necessarily know what that means. So I was thinking, okay, how can I describe the concept of self-actualization, which is basically, reaching your fullest potential, right? How could I incorporate that into another word? And I didn't want to say happiness, because happiness seems so fleeting. It's like I have a nice cup of coffee, I'm happy. I take a walk in the park, I'm happy. I have a good day, I'm happy. So I wanted to find the word that would make that really ignite. And I went for mind-blowing.
Yeah, I love it.
And I like mind-blowing. It's a little sexy, and who doesn't want their life to be a little sexy, right? Like, this ain't no regular happiness. This is mind-blowing happiness. And that's where that came from.
I love that you just talked about happiness in the same way that I think about happiness. Right, Cynthia? It's verbatim what I say about, because there's a difference between happiness and joy. And so for me, joy is innate. Joy is something we actually can control, and that we can learn to. Anyways, not about me, but I'm just saying that's exactly, I always say, I eat a piece of chocolate cake, I'm happy. I get a bonus at work, I'm happy.
But how do you sustain it?
I'm sorry?
No, I said, but how do you sustain it, right? How do you maintain that feeling?
And that's what you do.
Cake all day, right?
Right. And that's what you do. You help people gain that ability to do that, right? Through all of the different avenues that you work as. So you're a Black woman, a Buddhist, a coach, a strategist. How do those identities inform your work, right? How do you use all of those pieces to help, let's say, a team of like 5 people in an office? Can you give us kind of a tangible thing that you would do with that group?
Yeah. So when I work with organizations, typically we will create something that's designed to meet their needs. I can say that my signature talk is Unlocking the Secrets to Mind-Blowing Happiness, which starts with the 5 kind of essential or foundational ingredients. So it's the first 5 steps in the book, right? The first one, and a lot of times these things don't come into the office. Like the first step is healing. 70% of workers who are in corporate spaces have some trauma that is unhealed, right? So that's what the data is looking like. It's not something is someplace else, right? And those things show up. They show up in the way that communication may take place at work, whether people are able to take critique or feedback, So it shows up in a lot of spaces. But the healing is the first one. And sometimes, you're not going to get healed at work just because I came up to talk to you for 45 minutes. But what happens is that the awareness opens up.
Yeah.
The realization that you're not alone. Everybody's had some form of trauma, whether it's, trauma with a big T or trauma with a little t. But once you have that awareness, even for the organization, then it can be something that more attention can be given to, right? So healing is first. The second one is spirituality, which is another thing that at work, everybody kind of pretends that we're these robots in business suits.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, you go home feeling really depleted because nobody is really seeing or connecting with you, maybe the way that you want to be connected with. So whatever your belief system is, we can look at data and understand that we have a physical body that we can see and touch. And we also have a non-physical body that now we can measure with equipment. We can see not only heat, but also electromagnetic signals that come from our bodies. We have a field, an aura, right, around us. So these things exist. They're not arguable. Well, you could argue, but you're wrong.
Right. Right.
So the second step is understanding that there is a spiritual self. People are walking around sad, lonely, bumping into things, angry, yelling at the people around them, in part because they don't understand that they have a spiritual self. They may think that they are inherently bad or there's nothing inside them worth unearthing or acknowledging, right? So those are kind of the foundational. And then the next step goes into community. We need community. We need to have a sense of community, whether it's the places that we work or communities that we build outside of our organization or team building, that we may set up as leaders within an organization. So those are the first three. I could go on, but I don't want to.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm like fascinated, right? That's why I'm not saying a word. I'm like, really? Because I'm thinking you could come to one of our clients' offices and have a conversation with some people. But you must work with people, and then it's not a one-day event. It must be a long-term thing to get into all of that stuffage.
This stuff is shit. So
I say that respectfully, that's just my word. I'm sorry.
No, look, I tell you, I love this stuff. I could be here all day. I could be here all day with the stuffage and all the things. So, but yeah, so if I do,
did I insult you? I didn't mean to be insulted.
No, not at all. I'm loving it.
Oh, okay, because that's deep. Look at Cynthia's like, you insulted her.
No, listen. I love made up words. So
that's one. I have like 7 of them. That's one of them. Stuffage.
And it is deep.
It is deep stuff. And I am thinking about the offices I work for, and I'm like, wow, I don't do any of that. I probably need it myself. You know what I mean? As you're speaking. So
yeah, I mean, it's so needed. So many people are unhappy. If you ask most people if they are happy, the first thing they're going to ask you is, well, what do you mean by that?
Well, that's true.
What does that mean? And they might even be suspicious, like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to say to me? So the need is definitely there. But to your point, yes, I can go in and I can do a talk for 45 minutes and leave, and people might say, oh, that was really interesting. Let me grab a copy of her book, or we'll leave behind a copy of the book. This one it's a journaling book. So it has 12 steps, 5 prompts per step. You could work through it all year.
And this is the mind-blowing happiness book, because we have the audio as well. So I want to make sure that people realize that you were holding up that book.
Oh, yes. That was 12 steps to mind-blowing happiness that I was showing you. So for like a single talk, it could be something like that. But if I were going into an organization to do some work, typically it would be a workshop and then either some group coaching calls, that would be on Zoom for maybe 3 months or some period of time that we agree on to give the opportunity for me to teach more and for people to get their questions answered, but yeah, it's that's like my life's work right there. I think that if each of us were even like 20% better, like if we just felt maybe 20% better about ourselves, so we could be maybe 20% more authentic and maybe show up with confidence, 20% more, like we're not going to be whole new brand people or brand new people, but if we could just get a little bit more. My pet peeve is that we have a lot of people who are emotionally not intelligent, without great intentions, who have large platforms and big voices, and even a lot of followers, right? So these malintentioned folks are making a lot of noise and doing a lot of things. And then we have very lovely, nice people who are at home gardening and they will not share their opinion or speak up, you know? So
can you talk a little bit about what emotional intelligence is? Because I don't think a lot of people understand what emotional intelligence is. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But
No. So emotional intelligence deals with things like self-awareness. So do you know how you feel? Do you have the words? Like there is a chart. I can't think of the name of the chart, but there's a chart with all the words for all your feelings. So can you even verbalize your own emotions? Can you develop self-awareness so you are aware not only of how you feel, but how the way that you behave impacts other people? So developing some of that language and some of that self-awareness is really the root of what emotional intelligence is.
right. I love it. Go ahead, Cynthia. I'm sorry.
So I actually took your angry myth quiz online, and it came out 50%. And I was like, okay, 50-50.
So can you explain what that is? I know it's your third book and it's the book that's currently out. It came out in 2024 internationally, but can you explain first what the book is and then answer Cynthia's question? Again, audio. I'm always like, I'm the producer over here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I started off talking about the foundational concepts for unlocking the secrets of mind-blowing happiness, right? So we talked about healing, we talked about spirituality, and then we talked about community. The fourth step is self-love and authenticity, and I touched on that a little bit. The fifth step is transforming anger. So it's really about peacefulness, learning to transform your anger into either calm, you feel fine, nothing's bothering you, or constructive action. Not violence, right? An action that is going to be constructive.
Constructive, right?
Yes.
I don't know, violence.
People are like, I know how to take action. It's like, okay,
right, no.
The kind that we've thought through, right?
Right.
So I used to do a lot of interviews on the book 12 Steps to Mind-Blowing Happiness. And people would say, well, you know, we don't have time for 12 steps. It's like what you were saying, Carmen. This is a lot of work. What is the one thing that I can do to be more joyful? And if I had to choose one, it is the anger. It's this idea around anger. So that's why the book that I wrote most recently is The Anger Myth. And the subtitle is Understanding and Overcoming the Mental Habits That Steal Your Joy. It wasn't until I started studying Buddhism that I started to understand that anger is a mental habit. It's a habit. You know, I didn't know that I didn't have to be angry when people did things that I did not like. You know, that was kind of like the only way that I knew to react to something was to be angry. But when you think about it, you know, if you've ever been around small children, like 2-year-olds, you know, if you do something they don't like, maybe you take away their toy, you tell them no, whatever it is, they'll like let loose, you know, fall on the ground, scream, cry, whatever. As we get older, well, we can't really get away with that, but we'll still do like the grown-up version of it. You know, I'm not speaking to you anymore, or maybe I'm screaming at you, but in some kind of way acting out, and never, you know, we don't really learn how to process it. So the book teaches you how to process it. But it also brings attention to subtle versions of anger that we don't recognize as anger. So in the book, I call them Anger's 7 cranky cousins. And they are disappointment, annoyance, frustration, jealousy, impatience, guilt, which is really self-directed, and then resentment, which is just, you know, anger extended over a long period of time. Because sometimes we get stuck in the
Oh,
disappointment.
angry cousin. Okay, cousins of anger. I just got it. Took me a minute. Sorry, I'm like, what?
Just like, whose cousin? What am I talking about?
I'm so sorry. Hey, if I'm thinking that way, there might be other people who are a little.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, well, how do cousins get involved with this?
I know, like, why is she talking about her family? No, just kidding. Like,
no,
I totally get it.
When I first started studying Buddhism, and they, shared kind of this philosophy around what anger is, and then I understood that there are subtle versions. Like we don't necessarily go from 0 to 1,000. We'll be on this low simmer. And you probably know people like this who are like just simmering. They're maybe complaining a lot. They're always just a little cranky. Nothing really maybe makes them happy. They're
hey, fixing my hair. I'm just fixing my hair. I'm not pointing at you, Cynthia, at all.
and it's like we think that, like I'm driving someplace and I'm stuck in traffic and I'm thinking, I'm too good for this traffic. Don't they know that I'm coming through? You know what I mean? But it seems normal to us, right? Until you realize how ridiculous you're being. But you have to pause and kind of think about it and work through it. Right. And well, everybody else is in this traffic too. They all have places to go too. I can't be the most important person on the road right now, right? So,
So are you saying anger, we shouldn't, just to be clear, because I haven't read the book yet. I did just order it. Did I just order it? I will be ordering The Angry Myth. Well, I don't want to lie.
The anger myth.
The anger myth. Okay.
Yes.
Are you saying that it's not okay to be angry? Or that you don't get angry at all? Or I'm just curious.
I'm glad you asked this. No, this is the perfect question. Because it's not that it's not okay to be angry. Being angry, disappointed, frustrated, jealous, all those things are normal emotions, right? So it's fine to feel your emotions. And the first step in what I call the 5-step tame and reframe approach to process your anger is to acknowledge it, right? So whatever you're feeling, you want to acknowledge it. The thing is, you don't want to live in it. Some people are living in it. They're living in the jealousy. They're living in the frustration. They're living in whatever variations of anger they're experiencing, and it's hurting them. Yeah. Like I'm going to pick on Cynthia.
I think that would be helpful. Go right ahead.
So if Cynthia is angry all day long, it doesn't affect me. It's only affecting her. Even if somebody did something terrible to her, like a deep, deep betrayal, right? And she's angry all year. Every day she wakes up angry over this betrayal. And listen, I've probably been there, so don't think, we've all been through stuff. But say every day I wake up, I'm so angry over this betrayal. After a while, the reality is the person who betrayed me is sleeping in their bed having a great time. Mm-hmm. I'm the one who's dealing with this fire in my chest, in my belly, that will literally, or I shouldn't say will, but can literally make you physically ill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can give you mental health issues as well, right? And it's not fun. It's keeping you from having the relationships you want to have with other people, with yourself, from doing things that you like to do, just from having a joyful life. So it's not that it's not okay to be angry and feel your emotions. It's just as we talk about things like self-awareness, you want to say to yourself, well, how long do I want to be in this space that doesn't serve me, that doesn't benefit me?
So when Cynthia took the quiz and she said it was 50%, what does that mean?
That means that she's I want to say she's healthy, but she has some work to do. It makes me think that the material is probably a little new for her, which it is for most people, right? Mm-hmm. This idea that we have options, that we don't have to be angry. I know it was new for me. I thought that, like I told you, I thought that if somebody did something I didn't like, that was what I should be feeling. And I didn't realize that it hurt me.
Honestly, I think if I would have taken this test maybe like 5-6 years ago, I probably would have been at like 75%, because I did, have anger issues and things like that I have worked on. So now that it's at 50%, I feel a lot better about myself, that I'm working on myself, and it's getting there.
Yes. No, 50 is not bad. Most people are not going to like score really well, because for most folks, it's a different way of understanding what anger is and how it works.
Right.
Like
you want people to be able to access the quiz, so they could go visit your website at, it's mindblowinghappiness.com.
Yeah.
And they can find the quiz there, as well as so much more information. You also have a podcast as well. Do you do that podcast just monthly though?
We're on a little hiatus for the podcast right now, but when I do it monthly.
It's still, I listened to 2 of them. You have some guests on there, and it's just a wealth of information. So it's mindblowinghappiness.com.
Yes.
Please go visit the website and get the quiz if you'd like to score better than Cynthia.
Don't pick on Cynthia. I love that you went on the quiz. And I will say as well, that is self-awareness, right? That is the willingness to do a self-assessment, to look at yourself, to learn, because most people won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I got you, Cynthia. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Well, it was nice having you on the show. Bye. No, just kidding. I think one of the things I'm not most proud of, but I think I deal with anger pretty quickly. And Cynthia, you could say I don't or whatever, but I get angry, I get mad, I tell people, and then I'm done. And I move through it. And I think I have issues too, and I'm going to take the quiz and see where I score. But I think one of the things that I have always found interesting about being angry is that people really hold it in. Like, they don't want to admit that they're angry.
I'm so glad you said that.
Oh,
yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think that with my work, people do get confused and they think that it's about repressing, so that you're like, well, somebody does something ridiculous and you're like, that didn't bother me at all. I'm just fine. You know what I mean? I'm just fine. You know what I mean? And that's
while you're biting your tongue.
That's not what it is, or they may feel like they can't defend themselves. Like if somebody is verbally attacking you, I can verbally attack you and keep my nervous system calm, because I'm pretty good at this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, but that takes practice, right? But yes, it doesn't mean that I only speak flowery words all the time, or that you can come and say whatever you want to me, or that I don't have boundaries, or that I won't even physically defend myself if I need to. So you can do all the things that you need to do. It has more to do with what's going on internally. And actually, I can take you guys through the 5 steps so you understand.
That'd be great.
Okay. So, and I love this because I use the acronym A.N.G.E.R, so it'll actually spell anger to kind of help us remember a little bit. So the 5 steps, right? So somebody, I don't know, cuts you off in traffic, flips you the finger. So what you don't do is speed up and bump into the back of their car.
No, that would be violence.
Yeah. So we don't go for violence. So the first thing, you acknowledge your anger, like I was saying before. Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, I'm pissed. I see you. Okay. Mm-hmm. The second step is notice your breath. So this is a big one. Cynthia, you were talking about that when you did the yoga segment. Yeah. You could just take, 3 long breaths. Inhale to the count of 3. Exhale to the count of 3. When I get intense, like I may not be breathing at all. So it could be like, So remember to breathe. The G is to gear up your imagination. And for many of us, we had imaginations when we were kids, and then somebody told us, stop daydreaming, get your act together, and we just don't really use our imagination anymore. So you want to kind of open up your imagination. Okay, this person cut me off, gave me the finger. Maybe they're running from the cops.
Right.
Maybe their mother just died.
Just come up with a story that
you
might.
You don't know. Maybe they're having a heart attack.
Right. Yeah.
Or they have some disease that makes them flip their finger by accident. Like, I don't know what's going on.
That is a great imagination right there. That's a good one. Yeah.
Or my favorite is maybe they just had a very poor upbringing. You know, they were raised by wolves, and thank God I'm not them. Right? Yeah. So whatever that thought process is, it takes you away from following something that you don't need to get involved with, right?
Right.
And then the next step is
R.
E.
Oh.
I'm like, wait a minute, what are we spelling? It's the E.
I'm being angry. That's why. It's anger. I'm so sorry. This is good. This is good. Okay.
Yeah, it's anger. Yeah, it's anger. So it's the E. So the E is, okay, well, what are we going to do now? So in this scenario, when you're driving, you can just entertain yourself. You don't have to do anything. You can call a friend. You could turn up your radio or podcast, whatever you're listening to, put on an audio book. You could start singing, whatever. Just do something to entertain yourself, and you'll forget about it.
Entertain yourself.
It depends. So this is where it gets a little something. So for small things, you entertain yourself. You can't always entertain yourself. Sometimes somebody might be in your face, or it might be something that requires more. It could be a work issue, whatever. So it's either entertain yourself, educate yourself. Sometimes you need to do some work and learn some stuff.
That's good.
And then sometimes, like when you have issues that are like social justice or war or, all the isms and all those things, education may not be enough. This is when I say enlighten yourself. It kind of circles back to that spirituality, finding something that will make those types of things make some sort of sense for you. Right. So that's the action.
Do we also use EA for edit? Like maybe edit the way you would change things?
I mean, if you like edit, I'll go for that.
You're changing your whole dynamic. Just wrote a book. What are you doing?
I'm going to have to put as co-author on my next book. But I like that. Because Cynthia, listen, if that makes you remember something for you, then go for it. Because the E is the action. Like, what is the action that you're going to take? Are you going to entertain yourself? Are you going to make a note that you need to learn something later or address something in that way? Or are you going to have to go straight to spirit? Because sometimes you got to go to spirit,
Yeah. I love it. Entertain. What were the 3 E's? Because there was 3. Entertain. Well, 4, I guess. But
we got 4 now.
Educate, enlighten.
Or enlighten. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then R?
And then the last one is R. So once you've done whatever your process is, right, you acknowledge your anger, you took a breath, you use your imagination to think about, generate some compassion, some empathy for whatever someone else might be going through. You figure out how you're going to take your action, whether you just entertain yourself and move on. And then once you do that, it sounds like a lot, but this can all be split seconds once you practice it. So once you're done, you just recognize your success.
Yeah.
I didn't get into a car accident. I didn't ruin my own mood for the next 30 minutes or for the rest of the day, right? I de-escalated, maybe something that could have escalated. Whatever it was, you want to recognize your success and be like, hey, like how you were saying, Cynthia, like I'm not, I may not be perfect, but I'm not where I was 5 years ago, right? Yeah. Or even yesterday. So recognizing your success is actually really important, because when we try to change our habits, and remember I was saying it's a mental habit, we need to have something that is like a reward, So if we are trying to start a new habit where we run every morning, you might want to have a nice little cup of coffee when you're done or something, so that you have something to look forward to as your reward. So you want to recognize your success, and it could be as simple as a smile.
I'm laughing because I'm sorry, you said running and then coffee as your reward. I'm like, girl.
She's like, I have the coffee for her. What did she say? What do you want, cake again?
It'll be chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
No, I hear you though, but I'm like, that's not really.
That's not a very good reward.
That must be like a Buddha thing. No, I'm just kidding. Reward coffee.
But I will also say this, right? Your reward could just be talking nicely to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Which a lot of people don't do.
Yes, most people, the voice in it, because I work with individuals, I also work with organizations, but I do a lot of work with individuals. And one of the things that comes up a lot is this voice in our head that's like always yelling at us. We're not good enough. We didn't do it fast enough. What were you thinking? So sometimes just that pause to be like, look at you go. You did the thing. Or however you talk to yourself. That's how I talk to myself. Just having that is huge. And then over time, people ask me a lot about how do you build confidence? Over time, becoming the person that you want to be builds your confidence.
I think it's hard for me, like, especially when I'm thinking about how I deal with my anger. And it's been the way I've always done it. I have no rhyme or reason. And I'm not saying I can't improve on it, but what ends up happening is people get upset with you, or you're too blunt, or you're too mean, or you're too, like, people do all that stuff. And then, so that's a whole other thing I work on, which is like, it's not that I don't care what other people think, because I think that's a facade that nobody cares. I don't care what anybody thinks. The minute you say that, you've just acknowledged that you care that other people think. But I feel bad because sometimes when I'm angry, I let people know right away. And then people are then upset because I said it too hard or too mean, or I'm too blunt. And how would you answer something like that? How would you deal with the backlash of being your authentic self and doing your best to deal with anger in a better way?
Yeah. So I think that you can be authentic without being
mean, bitchy.
I was going to say abusive. And I was like, I don't want to offend the host.
You can say it. Okay, I open the door. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that you can be authentic without being, mean or abusive, right? And I'm telling you, those 5 steps work so well. They almost sound too easy sometimes. People are like, Now, if you have some like a clinical anger management problem, right? Because some people from childhood traumas may have the way your brain gets rewired in a certain way. And I'm not a clinician, so I can't go too deep into that. But if it's not something that's completely out of your control, and you can pause long enough for that breath before you pop off, right? Because I used to just go straight to whatever came out my mouth at a certain time as well. But if you can pause before you do that, and then use your imagination, right? Because, I almost named that book Anger Lies. And my literary agent was like, what are you talking about? It goes back to the whole story of Trish with, what are you talking about, Trish? But the thing is, anger gives us false information. So in that moment when you're angry, you really cannot make a good decision until you calm yourself down. So, you may be talking to someone that you love and say the meanest thing to them to hurt them. Just in that moment, you forget that you even like them in that moment. It's like in that moment, they could be the one person you hate the most,
right.
Yeah. So allowing yourself to pause, just finding a little bit of space. And then the breath is not only a pause, you are literally bringing oxygen to your brain where you're going to need it, and then tapping into that empathy, because you figure, okay, somebody did something really stupid that pissed you off, right? What were they thinking? Was their goal to make you angry? Did they misspeak? Did they, only from that place can you figure out, okay, like how many disconnections take place from miscommunication?
Right. That's fair.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna
slow down. Go to
I tend to. No. I don't know how this alliance between you and Cynthia came, but I'm kind of over it. I feel like, when it comes to anger issues for myself, I feel very confident in how I deal with it, but it's always difficult to watch how people react to, because I do not practice everything you just said. It's a learning for me, what you just said.
Yeah.
And I am grateful to kind of learn that stuff. But like, I do things a little bit different. Like, so if somebody's mad at me on the road or cuts me off and I get upset or whatever, I will then wave at, like, I've trained myself to be like, it's okay, you know, and it usually throws people off, you know, like, and so there are some things that I'm doing that I've incorporated because I don't like being angry. I don't like feeling mad. And I think because as a kid, I remember feeling mad and alone all the time, right? You talked about trauma, whatever. And so like I do other things, but I love what you're teaching and what you just shared because I feel like I just learned some other skills that I never even thought about that I think might help me in my process. So thank you so much. Cynthia, do you have any, I was going to say last words as if like, anything else before we wrap up?
No.
Yeah, this has been so enlightening. So thank you for being here. I want to mention again, it's mindblowinghappiness.com. The book is The Anger Myth. Do not listen to me from earlier. Please go check out the website. Please purchase the book. Is there anything else you want to add? I mean, maybe I'll ask you one last question before we finish. If someone is listening and feeling stuck, where would you tell them to start besides going to your website and getting your book? What would you say they should start at? Maybe taking the quiz or?
If they're feeling stuck. Well, there are quite a few opportunities to engage with me. Recently, I created something called a small step one-on-one laser session. So you can get on a call with me for 30 minutes on Zoom and, tell me what you're working on and I can make recommendations for you. It came up because I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I coach for businesses. I coach for speakers. I coach authors. And I've been doing this for a long time now. And sometimes people, they're not really ready. They don't even know maybe what a life coach type relationship looks like. Right. They might just have questions like what you were saying, like, where do I start? So I have a 30-minute session. If somebody wanted to book me that way, they can do that.
And they can find that on your website as well.
Okay. Yeah, they sure can.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure. And again, we'd love to have you back if in the future you would like to come back and hang out with us. And maybe we'll invite Rick, our other person who met briefly. But thank you so much. And everyone, remember, at the end of the day, it is all about the joy. And I hope you got that from this wonderful, wonderful interview today. Thank you. I've learned so much. I love when that happens. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for stopping by All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.